October 2nd, 2016. Russia issues full-scale war alert as West faces financial Armageddon. This is by Sorcha Fall. A new Ministry of Defense report circulated in the Kremlin today states that the first squadrons of Sukhoi Su-24 and Sukhoi Su-34 and Sukhoi Su-25 ground support fighter aircraft ordered to Syria by President Putin to take part in the freeing of Aleppo from Obama regime-blocked Islamic terrorists have begun to arrive in the Levant war zone, at the same time that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is warning that full-scale war may be imminent, and as the West is nearing financial Armageddon. According to this report, President Putin's ordering these fighter aircraft to support the freeing of Aleppo from the grip of Obama terrorists is indirect retaliation to these modern-day barbarians' ceaseless attacks upon the innocent civilians of this city, and that the United States, shockingly this week, stated that they were preparing for nuclear war with Russia in order to let this senseless slaughter of innocents continue. So how grave the situation in Aleppo has become, this report continues. Syrian Supreme Commander Major General Zaid Salah outlined this week by stating the terrorist groups are using civilians as human shields to prevent the army from targeting them. They heavily depend on the United States and Turkey to supply them with weapons, but we won't allow this to happen. With Syrian troops under the protective cover of Russian aircraft now penetrating more deeply into Aleppo against Obama's terrorists, this report notes this proxy war where the Gulf states and the United States and until recently Turkey have poured billions of dollars and hundreds of tons of equipment into, while using tens of thousands of foreign fighters to kill hundreds of thousands, is nearing its end. As all hope is now lost for the Obama regime to protect its Islamic terrorists, this report says the Americans and its allies have gone into hyperbolic mode, accusing Russia of savagery, and are not only threatening to send Russians home in body bags, they are also now saying that they are going to give these terrorists portable ground-to-air missiles, which, if it happens, most assuredly will soon after be used to shoot down planes over Europe and the United States. Particularly angering the Obama regime about Russia's impending total victory in Syria over these Islamic terrorists, this report explains, is President Putin's playing by what the Americans call the Grozny rules, which is a reference to Russia's total war against Chechen Islamic terrorists, where the entire city of Grozny was destroyed in order to eliminate these terrorists forever. Angering the Obama regime even worse, this report continues, is they're losing the information war, this conflict to Russia, but the Federation expects more rightly as state is people simply knowing what the truth is, and who have bluntly stated about Western media hypocrisy. The Western media have become so embedded in the ideological matrix of the ruling Western class that they no longer know what the meaning of purpose of genuine journalism is. Just this week, American forces and their various allies killed civilians in Syria, Afghanistan, and Yemen. Bloody children's bodies were pulled like lifeless rag dolls from rubble in Yemen after U.S.-supported Saudi airstrikes continued their week after week slaughter of civilians there. No courage of these crimes in the Western media, no coverage at all, no emotive denunciations from the officials, no calls for sanctions, prosecutions, or editorial condemnations of Washington and its allies as outlaw states. With Russia, however, knowing what an outlaw state looks like, this report says the Ministry of Affairs this morning bluntly told the Obama regime about their continued support of Islamic terrorists by warning them unless it's stopped, it will result in a full-scale war that will lead to tectonic shifts in the whole region, if not the entire world. With Brexit clearly showing these Western elites the limitations of their continuous fear-based campaigns against all who oppose them, MOD experts in the report point out they still fail to see that the credibility of their third-way politics as championed by Bill Clinton, Tony Blair, and other communists like leftists ruling Europe and America has been completely savaged by the very people they rule over, but who are now prepared to start World War III in their last gap bid to continue their monstrous rule. But to the latest tragedy to befall these Western people at the hands of their elite rulers, this report warns, is the financial Armageddon that they are soon to face in one of their largest banks. Deutsche Bank is nearing complete collapsing due to its over $42 trillion in derivatives bets, and whose failure will take down nearly every bank in the United States and Europe with it. With German Chancellor Merkel already stating that her government will not bail out the Deutsche Bank, as it would be political suicide to do so. This report continues, these German bankers are now rushing to the United States in hopes that the Obama regime will grimly too. This report points out is that aside from the Deutsche Bank nearing a collapse, according to the global banking body, the Bank of International Settlements, MIS, both Canada and China are nearly a total banking collapse too. The report concludes by noting that among the least prepared people in the world for total war and economic collapse are the Americans, who, like in 2007, when they failed to heed the warnings that their entire economy was about to collapse, and we likewise reported in our 28th of June 2007 report, U.S. banking collapse imminent, warns French banking giant, and who are once again imminent warns again are listening to their propaganda media instead of hearing the truth, while their life-saving pensions and stock holdings are about to disappear into the hands of their elite rulers, just like the last time. And that's it. Just click below to go to it, and thank you so much. Today states that the first squadrons of Sukhoi Su-24 and Sukhoi Su-34 and Sukhoi Su-25 ground support fighter aircraft ordered to Syria by President Putin to take the West is nearing financial Armageddon. According to this report, President Putin's ordering these fighter aircraft to support the freeing of Aleppo from the grip of Obama terrorists is indirect retaliation to these modern-day barbarians' ceaseless attack part in the freeing of Aleppo from Obama regime-blocked Islamic terrorists have begun to arrive in the Levant war zone, at the same time that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is warning that full-scale war may be imminent. And as the October 2nd, 2016, Russia issues full-scale war alert as West faces financial Armageddon. This is by Search of Fall. A new Ministry of Defense report circulated in the Kremlin upon the innocent civilians of this city, and that the United States, shockingly, this week stated that they were preparing for nuclear war with Russia in order to let this senseless slaughter of innocents continue. So how grave the situation